Hi, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Endurance School Community Spotlight. We are really lucky today to have my great friend, George Thomas, come and join us. George is the training manager at Eldora Ski and Ride School in Nederland, Colorado. He's also the owner of Over the Top Productions, which is a race management and media slash podcasting company. George produces races large and small, along with teaching skiing and doing all sorts of media stuff. He has been twice the race director for Race Across America and has been a longtime director of the much beloved Deschutes River Time Trial Festival out in Maupin, Oregon. He runs Race Across Oregon. He is a five-time finisher of RAAM, once on a team, twice solo, and twice on a tandem. And I know him best for being able to memorize every person's name at his amazing award ceremonies. Like I said, he lives in Nederland, Colorado. He produces the First Chair podcast, which is about ski instruction and skiing. George, thank you so much for joining us and coming on the show.
You made my day by asking me to do this, so thank you both.
I have only just met George about 30 minutes ago, and he's already one of my favorite guests. So, so thank you for being here.
Am I your first guest?
No, no. In fact, I should not have said that.
We have had two guests a week for maybe almost 10 weeks now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which doesn't even bring us close to the number of shows that you produce on a weekly basis, George.
Seriously.
You're like a 4 podcast a week guy, that's always one of my big questions for you. You manage to produce a lot of shows in a short amount of time. How do you keep that up?
Content is not an issue, and as we were talking before we started recording, my background's in radio. I was a news director, as a DJ. My dream in life was to be on radio and be a trainer at a ski area. And finally, I achieved that.
Amazing. I have some hope for my triathlon coach / astronaut now.
It's still possible.
But I mean, the Boulder area for cycling, and skiing, it's just, content is so easy to come by. Mm-hmm. And you've got to keep a really open mind. What are people interested in? And because you and I could talk about something and make it incredibly boring, or we could talk about something and make it really fun. And it's really the way that you go into that interview. Whatever mindset you have is what you're going to come up with.
Do you have to do anything specific to get yourself into like an interviewing mindset? For me, I have to like really psych myself up, but I would love to know if there's like a process that you have or something that you have to do, or does it just come naturally?
I've been in radio since 1986, but I started podcasting in January of 2012. And I still get nervous every time I get on to get an interview because I really want to do a good job. And you can get into this mindset of, oh gosh, here we go again. But it's not. You're with somebody new, or maybe you're with a return guest, but it's about a different topic. So you're going to find out something new about somebody, hopefully that you've never known, or that your listeners haven't known about this person. And it's such a drive to make that an interesting conversation. The hard thing for me is that when I sit down and have a conversation with someone now, it's like, oh my God, George, stop interviewing this person. Just talk to them.
Just get your coffee.
Right. But like I used to write out, people would say, well, what are you going to ask me? And I would write out this detailed list of questions. And we'd be into a conversation and I'd be like, oh my God, Molly just said something that is really interesting, way better than the questions I have, but I'm stuck to this script now. And then I went to an outline and kind of found the same thing. I don't send anything out in advance anymore. I want it to be a real conversation.
Awesome.
And I think when you go into meeting somebody under those circumstances, definitely the adrenaline's up because you don't want to make mistakes. But at the same time, I love finding out about people. And I want to turn the tables and be asking you guys questions.
We're an open book, George.
And that's kind of where I want to like rewind the tape a little bit, because I think some of our listeners don't know about your background, about your story, and I intentionally did not tell Molly about some of your history, about how you got into like ultra long distance bike riding in the first place. And I know that I tell this story to anybody, like I'm like, oh, George Thomas, this amazing guy, he runs all these races, he memorizes everybody's name at the awards ceremony, and like basically how you got into long distance cycling. If you don't mind reprising that story again for me, I think a lot of our listeners don't know how you kind of got here.
I grew up a runner, and that was just, I really enjoyed it. I liked being out by myself. I liked the experience of that. And in 1984, I was picking up my best friend from high school. We were getting on my motorcycle, and I got hit by a drunk driver alleged drunk driver who was going about 50 miles an hour in a vintage Mercedes. She hit me from behind. I should have been dead. I went head first through her windshield. The pictures of that car are just horrific. I got thrown 190 feet down the road, and my motorcycle got thrown over 70 feet. And my running days were done. I thought I was going to lose one of my legs from the knee down. I had some really bad injuries, and hadn't really even thought about the head injury that I received. I started having epileptic seizures from the scarring on my brain. But yeah, I couldn't run anymore. And so a friend brought over an indoor trainer and a bicycle, and I started spinning on the bike. And that's how I started walking again. And I watched the 1984 Olympics from the trainer and saw Connie Carpenter win her gold medal, and saw Davis Finney and those guys, and now I've actually had them on my show, which is really cool. I really enjoyed riding a bike, and then I took it out on the road and entered my first real bike race. And when I went into that, I had a feeling that I never had in running, which was, I want to win. When I would enter a running race in track or a community 10K, whatever it was, I could be top 10 or top 5, but I'd look around and I'd go, great, Chris Bag's here, Molly's here. They're going to kill me, and I'm racing for 3rd place. And that was my mindset as a runner. When I went in as a cyclist, I was like, I'm here to win. And if I'm going to lose, I want you to hurt really bad. And as I've gotten older and slower, I still have that mindset where I really want to go into a race now. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's so true for me. If I go into a race and I feel like I'm at my best and you guys beat me, I want to be able to walk up to you at the end and go, Molly, that was awesome. Congratulations. Not, oh my God, 600 miles in, I got stopped by road construction. Everybody gets stopped in an ultra race.
Right.
There's something, nobody has a perfect race. And so when you hear that after you have a good performance, it's like, don't tell me that. But I do it. And I've even had my crew say, how are you feeling right now? You're in 2nd, or you're in 3rd, or you're in 4th. Are you okay with that? And if I'm feeling like I've trained really hard and I'm doing as good a performance as I'm physically capable of, I'm totally fine with that. And I feel really happy for people that are doing better than I am. But yeah, that kind of worked into my whole ultra experience. I just wanted to keep challenging myself. It was a lot more than about racing other people. And I had seen the Race Across America when it was the Great American Bike Race, the very first one that they had. And I thought, God, riding at night with a van behind you, blasting music, that just seems so cool. And it turned out to be everything I ever hoped it would. I've actually done RAAM 6 times.
Oh, okay.
And then Race Across the West, I've done that now 6 times as well. And I got inducted into the Hall of Fame for Race Across America in 2014. And I yelled out an expletive when they announced my name because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But it's, I love racing Race Across the West. That's the first third of Race Across America. So I have a huge target on my back because I'm in the Hall of Fame now. And I have to be toward the front because I run the banquet and announce the raw.
You're making dinner.
I fly to the finish line of RAAM and announce the finish. And the coolest compliment that I've gotten throughout my life was when some people have told me, God, I think about you 3 days out from the finish, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm thinking about what am I going to say to George when I'm on stage. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Oh, cool. I love being there to see people finish this race. It's so amazing. And that's, you mentioned memorizing names. To me, that's what cycling is about. I want you guys to have recognition. I'm not giving out money prizes. My events are the B movies of cycling. They're low on production value, but I want it to be
high on enjoyment.
And I want people to know that they're important to me, and I really care that they're out there doing our event because it really genuinely matters to me that someone is out and has paid an entry fee to come do something that I'm putting on.
And I think it genuinely matters to them too. Like you can really see that in the people that come to your races and continue to run. I mean, ultra endurance races, it's like a different crowd, right? And I think that for that group, it's not just about the event; it's about the things that go along with it, and the challenge, and the people that they meet.
Very much so, and people are really supportive of each other. It's incredibly competitive, and I can't even begin to describe the adrenaline rush of doing a 500-mile race or a 1,000-mile race, and you're in the lead or you're just off the leader and you're having a really tight event. You've got super adrenaline that just doesn't go away for, a couple of days in a row. It's such a high.
So I had heard of RAAM.
At the same time, we're really supportive of each other. If I see, Chris is kicking my butt, and all of a sudden I come riding up on him, it's like, whoa, what's wrong? He's on a sleep break, then cool, you keep going. But if he's having mechanical problems or he's having something physically that's holding him up, it's like, crew, you got to stop. Find out how can we help this person and get him back on the road.
So I'd heard of RAAM a little bit before the first time I actually had any concept of what it was, beyond having heard a little bit about the description, was in the podcast. I think it's Radio Lab, about the limits of human ability, and human potential. And I don't think that I knew what that event was really. I'd heard of it, knew conceptually what it was, but I don't think I knew the details of it and the reality of it until I listened to that. For those of the folks who are listening right now who don't know what the experience of racing RAAM is like, or Race Across the West is like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's nonstop, coast to coast. So Race Across America is right around 3,000 miles. The course now is Oceanside, California to San Diego, or Oceanside, California to Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh my God.
And the clock never stops. So anytime you come to a stop, if you're sleeping, if you need to have a restroom break, for whatever reason, the clock is still going. So you have got to be incredibly efficient as well as fast. And one reason I wasn't a great solo racer was I really needed my sleep. And I would take an hour and a half to 2 hour sleep break in the afternoons because I'm not good at all in the heat. And then I would usually take a nap in the evening, and it would come to around 3 hours of sleep a day. I mean, the guys who are really good get by on about 30 minutes.
That's incredible.
But you've got to be incredibly efficient. You have a crew that's with you, and they're keeping you going. They're feeding you, they're hydrating you, they're motivating you when you need it. It's an incredible experience. It's not fun.
That was going to be my next question.
I wouldn't encourage anybody to do it unless they came to me and said, this is a goal. I really want to do Race Across America. And if somebody comes to me and asks that, I'm all for helping them with logistics and any advice that I can give. I'm happy to share that. But I wouldn't say, wow, Molly, you've really got to do RAAM.
Right. It's great. You're going to love it.
Because you're not. It's
right.
not fun. It's really, really hard. And it's an event that I imagine kind of like Everest. It gets really romanticized.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. It's not romantic at all. I mean, you're puking in the desert because it's over 100 degrees and it's just horrifically hot. It's freezing cold at night and pouring rain, and you've got to just keep going. You can't stop. And you really push your body past, at least I did, past where I ever thought I could push it. And I won't do it solo ever again, because to me, it had to be the most important thing in my life to get to the finish line, because there's always a point where you want to quit. And I've done it now. I've accomplished a lot there, and going solo, I don't want to put in the training time for it. And I really don't know that if I got to that point where it's like, man, you got to force yourself to keep going. I don't know if the finish is that important to me anymore. And so team, I love racing two-person team. It's a blast. It's competitive, and there's no way I'm going to quit on a teammate. But solo, I don't know if I could push myself through that anymore.
So to deter some of our more romantic athletes, can you describe, like, every race has a low point, but can you describe what a low point on the Race Across America is like, and how you pushed through that, how you overcame that, or didn't, if you did?
Oh, there's a lot. My very first solo RAAM back in 1995, it was 120 plus in the desert.
Oh my God.
I threw up on one of my crew members' shoes.
Yes.
And I was just thinking, oh my God, you are 100 and whatever miles into this. You've got 2,900 to race. You're going to be on your bike for the next 10 days. And, you're stopped and laying in your van right now. You got to move. But I can't. And it's like, you've got to recover and realize that, okay, I'm in this for the long haul. Chris passed me looking like amazing at the start. And when he went by, I said, Chris, I'll see you in about 4 days. I actually did that to someone, and I did. Because bad stuff's going to happen to everybody. It's how do you handle it? How do you get through it? And again, it's got to be your most important goal for that amount of time. I'm getting to the finish line no matter what. And we kind of had a rule on the tandem solo with team. It was like, if I've got an injury and it will heal within 2 weeks of me stopping riding, I'm going to keep going. Because you think about it, I would literally have out loud conversations with myself of, you feel really bad right now, you can quit. But if you look at yourself in the mirror tomorrow after you get some sleep, are you hurting bad enough that you're not going to be hurting this bad tomorrow and think, oh my gosh, if I had just kept riding, I'd be 400 miles down the road and that much closer to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
I never got to the point where it was worth the lifetime of hurt of dropping out, as opposed to the pain at the moment.
Hmm.
'Cause you're always going to live with the DNF.
Right.
You say that it's just, in terms of solo, that it's just not that important to you anymore to get to that finish line, and that it has to be the most important thing.
That's for me.
What has replaced that for you?
I like being with a team. I love having a teammate it's a different kind of motivation. It's like, oh my God, Molly is out there just crushing herself right now. I feel horrible. I've got to overcome this to live up and work for my teammate. And that to me is, I like that. And it's fast. I get to sleep. It's not a lot. I really enjoy two-person relay, but you get that little rest and you're down for 30 minutes or an hour and you're 20 miles down the road.
What qualities do you look for in a teammate?
Yeah.
What do I look for in a teammate?
Yeah.
Somebody who I'm willing to just crush myself for.
Awesome.
And to see that, I've got to kind of have that feeling from them for me, where you're really just a total unit. You're working together, and I may be feeling bad, but I know that Molly's not feeling good right now. So I'm going to stay out there for another hour and push as hard as I can so that she can rest and feel better. And then I get my time off, because I may feel great for 12 hours or whatever, but I know I'm going to have a low point, and hopefully Molly's going to step up and do the same for me.
You better believe it, George. I definitely will.
Because we got to beat Chris and Amy. Who are
I know, and they're so strong.
How do you discover that about a person?
Go on some rides, talking to them. Yeah, you get I never quit. And you're kind of like, really?
Let's see.
What have you done? As you get to know somebody, it's not, and I don't want to sound fig jam, which is kind of the statement I live by now, which is the F expletive, I'm great, just ask me. And bike racing and skiing, that's two sports that are full of fig jam. You know what I'm talking about.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Brilliant.
A little of that, I think, is really important. To the wrong level, no, it's not good at all. But you want to see some self-confidence from someone, but you want that self-confidence to be I trust you to feel the same way that I do. I know you're going to be putting in as much work as I am to be in as good a shape as I can be for this event. And you really start to see that. And you can tell if somebody's not going to be a good mix. Same with crew. That's tough too. You'll have people say, oh yeah, I totally want to help and do this. And don't just say yes because you're desperate to have some crew. You need people that you're going to blend well with. And it sounds silly, but you've got 2 or 3 people that are in this van for 48 hours, for 10 days, however long it's going to be. I like to say it's like, get everybody in an elevator. And how awkward do you feel if somebody stands, facing the wrong way or starts talking about stupid stuff, because it's that uncomfortable. It's quite the balancing act.
That's awesome.
So let's shift gears a little bit from race participation to race direction. Directing, as difficult as racing RAAM is, I cannot imagine what race directing RAAM is like. If you first, would you tell us, how did you end up with that job? And then tell us the story of what
2 years.
That's two editions of the craziest race on the planet. How did you end up with the job? And then if there is one particularly like vibrant memory that you have of your tenure as race director, then we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, the most memorable moment of race directing was when road got shut down in Indiana. Um, we had no word about what was going on, but we heard there was a fatality in a traffic accident, and that riders were on the road at that time. And so for a couple of hours, I'm sitting there just thinking, great, one of my riders is dead. What am I going to do, and how am I going to live with that? That it was, for me, it was incredibly stressful because that's just not something I can let go. And I say my riders, when you're doing DRBTT, when you're at Race Across Oregon, at any event I put on, you are my riders. And it's really hard for me not to feel responsible for whatever happens. And competitors have said, you take that way too seriously. You know, I'm here because I want to be here. And it's like, yeah, you are, but I still feel responsible for you while you're in my event. And that was really tough. I had another guy who was hit by a semi in Utah, and going to the hospital to be there with him, and seeing him in the ICU and just having him grab my hand, give me a little smile and say, you know, I'm okay. That was huge, but I was out crying in the parking lot for quite a while. At the same time, there's lots of just great memories as well of seeing people achieve a dream and come in. But I get that as the announcer. And that, for me, I like being able to race still. And I like being able to announce and not have that responsibility at that event. And I feel like I put in a good 2 years, and I'm proud of those races. But I'm in the best role for me at that event now, where I feel like, you know, the Peter principle, you're up too high, and as the announcer and still being able to compete and really interact with people and announce the banquets, they've got me in the right role.
Why did you say yes to that job?
Because that had been a huge part of my life for so long, and I loved it. And I thought, wow, to be the director of RAAM, that's going to be just amazing. And it is amazing, but lots of psychological pressure for me that I wasn't expecting. It's not like directing Race Across Oregon. People are like, why do you go so, with Race Across Oregon, why do you stay so remote? Because there's no cars out there. There's no people who are texting because there's no cell phone service while they're driving. I like having things that are remote. I love racing DRBTT out of Maupin. When we do it, you don't see a whole lot of cars. And I think, you know, me getting hit by a drunk driver and then having some other really bad injuries while I was riding a bike, I know what can happen. And I don't want that to happen to any of you when you're at one of my events. And I feel very responsible for you.
I think that shows through.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And anybody that's been to one of your events, I know, really feels that. You know, that sense of, yeah, I don't think I've ever been to an event that feels anything like one of yours, you know, then just that sense of like, it's like family and fun, but they're also really hard. And always, and there's sort of, there's sort of no holds barred events that feel like you're doing it with, you know, your 50 best friends.
I want you guys to be pushing yourselves as hard as you can. I like having difficult courses that really challenge you. And I love seeing how competitive people are, but when you cross the finish line, I want us to be really good friends.
You're getting a lot of shout outs in chat right now of people just yelling George. So I think that I think that's been successful. That's great. I think most of our viewers probably know you from cycling, but you have you cross train a little bit too, don't you? You do you do some other sports. Can you tell us a little bit about the ski and ride center?
Skiing is just I I love to teach skiing. It's kind of the same mindset as I get with putting on an event, but having somebody who's up and is scared and being able to see them blossom and just open up the mountain for them and see them doing runs that they maybe thought they never would be able to do and doing them well and in control and just having fun. Or you have someone up who wants to ski with their kids, or, again, they've got friends that are skiing, or they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend who wants them to be able to ski with them. You're just opening up so much of their life that people are like, oh, you're a ski instructor. When are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, this is a real job. I've always looked at it that way. And I've always looked at it as a profession. It wasn't a way for me to meet girls or just get a ski pass. It was something I really loved doing. And still, I love it more than I did when I first started. And I've been teaching now for 34 years.
Wow.
On winters when I was injured. But
amazing.
I just love it. And being able to train instructors now, that's my primary role. But every time I've been on, part of my job stipulation as trainer was I still get to teach. And while I organize training and bring in other instructors to lead trainings, I still want to lead training as well. So they've been really good about allowing me to be a manager, but at the same time, still work with our guests, do high performance camps. And I got into my job description that I'd be coaching snow camp up on Mount Hood for 2 weeks every summer. So we call it snow camp, not ski camp, because we're snowboard and ski.
Cool.
And I won a snowboard at our halfway through the season party this past season. And my choice was snowboard or skis. And I went right over and grabbed the snowboard. And everybody was like, no way! That if I'm a training manager, I need to be able to train people. I don't need to be great on a snowboard, but I darn well need to know how to teach it. And I need to be able to train first year, never ever snowboard instructors. And I want to be able to help them. It's really rewarding to me to see our instructors get people coming back, repeat clients, and really building people who like them and want to learn from them. And so it's nice to feel success that way by training people now to be good instructors.
Awesome.
I love it.
So you've coached, so you're training instructors. You're also training people learning to ski. You've been doing it for a long time. What are some of your best practices for teaching people?
Empathetic. You gotta have empathy for the person. And getting hit in '84, I had to learn how to ski again. I had to learn how to walk again. When I got hit by the deer in 2014, I had to learn how to ski and I had to learn how to walk again. So that's kind of my big thing now in skiing. I get scared. I won't go into tight trees, big icy bumps. I don't want to get hurt bad again. So it gives me, and learning how to snowboard, same thing. It really opens my eyes to what that person who's never been on skis before is going through, and feeling that fear and being able to look at something that doesn't look like much of a slope at all for somebody who's skied all his life, and realizing that if I'm sliding on this and I don't know how to stop, that's scary. And if you can get there with your guest or your client, you're in good shape. The other thing that I really love about ski instruction, it's called movement analysis. And we actually are, one of the good things that's come out of shutdown and safer at home and all that is we're doing all sorts of online training. And so I've been training staff 3 nights a week, and we put video of skiers of all different ability levels up. And then you go through their turn frame by frame by frame. What are the skis doing right now? Why are the skis doing that? What's the snowboard doing right now? How are they initiating that turn? How are they finishing that turn? What can we do to make things more efficient, easier, where they can go faster and have more fun, but also have more control?
And how do you help teachers become better teachers? Like, what is your empathy for your ski pupils, but how do you take somebody who already knows the sport and help them communicate that knowledge?
First, I have a lot of empathy for them. It's amazing how many people say, "Oh my God, I love kids," and I am always out. I'm not on my skis on weekends hardly at all. I'm out in my boots, there to help instructors that have a class of 6 4-year-olds that have never been on skis before, and they're like, "Oh my God, I thought I loved kids." And so you show games that really enhance the skills that people do when they're on skis or a snowboard. You do all sorts of fun things. You've got to be able to look at what's this person's goal. What's the goal for this 4-year-old who's out here? One, they got to have fun, so you got to play. But what's the goal of the person who paid for their lesson? So you're looking at that. You've got to match both of these, and then you've got other kids in that same class that also have goals, and you've got other parents there that have goals. And it can be overwhelming. And so I'm always out on the hill to help those instructors. And people are like, "George, can you come over?" And we just went through movement analysis. What I'll do with teachers is, "Chris, I want you to teach whatever you do for turn initiation, whatever it is, first stop, whatever. And I want you to do it in as few words as possible. And I want those words to be as simple and easy for me to understand as possible." And I start videoing you. Or wait, I guess that's a camera and now it's just a phone. And so I call it verbal movement analysis, because then we go in and sit down with the group and we listen to you teach. And it's like, oh my God, I took, 4 minutes to say something that I could have said in 2 sentences. And so I really am working on your communication skills. We're working on your skiing and riding skills, because we want you to be a better skier and snowboarder as well. But we're also, it's new with the national team over the last couple of years, where we used to just hire good folks with people skills. "Oh, I'm a people person," because you can't train that. Well, actually, we found you can train that and make you even better at your people skills. So we're really looking at your teaching skills, your movement skills, skiing or snowboarding, but we also want to work on your people skills as well, so that you're as well-rounded. We want to expose you to a lot of situations, show you drills that you can do with whatever skill it is that you're working on, but then let's apply those drills to other skills. And it just builds your toolbox for, what can I do when I've got this person who I don't know what to do with this. I want you to feel comfortable when you're out with someone.
We have a few people in chat who are asking for employment.
So I have another question about teaching. One of the things that we really run into, especially with swimmers, but sometimes with cyclists as well, is the role that this is coming from somewhat of a like based on my experience place, because I'm really scared on a snowboard. How do you deal with fear as an instructor? I think fear is the thing that like holds many of our athletes back in open water situations. It's certainly something that a lot of athletes struggle with on the bike. And I find it can be one of the harder things to coach people through. What is your thought on that. Do you have any tricks?
Oh, lots.
Tell me them, please.
And we're going to play a little game while we're here. This is going to be fun.
Okay.
First off, when somebody's scared, I love our new teaching technique. It's learning-based terrain that we use at Eldora now. We have little mini pipes that we teach you in, and we spot you. So if you're coming down for your first slide on skis or a snowboard, I'm out of my skis and snowboard. I'm holding you, and I'm bringing you down. I can talk to you. I can have you focus on my goggles. I want to see a smile. I want to see, and I'm going to let go a little bit. And now I'm going to grab you again. And now I'm going to let go. And now we're going to go a little bit further. And now this time you're going to do it on your own. And I give that person small goals that are achievable for them, that maybe are a little bit of a push, but I want to be there to help them as much as I can. And then I'm there to help them. I add little things to, let's say we're doing the straight run for your first time. Now I want you to do that straight run, but when you get to the bottom of the pipe, I want you to do a little hop. And then go up as far as you can. I'm going to be here to hold you as you're sliding backwards. Wow, Chris, that was awesome. You did a hop. You got your whole board up off the snow and brought it down. Molly, when you hopped, you dragged the tail of the board, which is really cool, but that tells me your weight's kind of back on your foot. Let's get a little more centered. And when you hop, I want to see you get your whole board off the snow. Chris, when you go this time, I want to see you do 3 hops. Here, 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 and here. And you don't rush the basics. Because we think, oh my gosh, people came up here, they want to learn this stroke, they want to learn whatever it is that we're teaching them. Let's make sure that they take ownership of these skills that we're working on. And your stance at that first time, you're scared. Everybody wants to lean back, and it's like, no, let's get you relaxed and confident. I want to have you doing 8 to 10 hops across that thing. And then when you get that, let's hop as you're sliding backwards now. And when you get that and you start to feel like, hey, this is actually really comfortable, then I'm going to start to teach you how to turn. And I want to get you comfortable going to the right. And when you get that, then I want to get you comfortable going to the left. And I'm going to be there to spot you and take you through. And each time I'm going to add something a little bit more challenging so that, again, we're working on that stance. We're working on the really basic skill. But again, it's giving you something achievable that you can do and feel some success. Now, Molly, let's say you're an expert and you're there. Chris has never skied or snowboarded before. While I'm giving him those exercises, I'm still teaching you. I'm having you do that on one foot. Or I'm having you do, I can teach an advanced class on very easy terrain just by making the challenges a little bit more difficult. But we're always working on the same thing. So I love having achievable goals, but keeping it in a safe situation where people are, again, you've got to take ownership of that. We can't rush people through.
That's great.
Tell us a little bit about your new podcast about First Chair. So you have done Over the Top for right around 8 years, I think. And then you've been you're kind of transitioning to this other podcast. What is kind of the goal of First Chair, and who are you mostly trying to reach?
Professional Ski Instructors of America, American Association of Snowboard Instructors, PSIA, ASI. We have it's a 33,000 member group, and so I do 3 podcasts a week on with national team members. I've had UST team members. We talk about everything that we've just been talking about: teaching skills, people skills, the fundamentals that we need to work on, and I'll bring in instructors. Just, hey, meet this personality. Right now I'm doing a series with people on the national team for, let's talk about the fundamentals and why these are so important for all of us to know. I'm doing a lot of online training with our staff where, we do movement analysis, where I give people an assignment of, here's a teaching scenario, come back next week and we're going to do this. Gosh, we've trying to think of some of the more recent. Oh, we just did a podcast on Arapahoe Basin reopening. I'm going to be doing something with Timberline on them being opened again, because it's just fun for us to hear that people are out sliding on snow. At the same time, a lot of our membership loves cycling, so I think we're going to have a lot more on riding bikes coming up over the summer. We do a lot of wakeboarding stuff in the summer. It's still a water sport. It's just melted.
You said you've done a lot of your podcasting literally from the chairlift.
Yep.
Why?
Because it's fun and it's unique and it's totally different. And we called the podcast First Chair because I really like to keep my podcast interviews between 15 and 20 minutes. 20 minutes is the longest. And I love having a podcast named First Chair and talking to someone on a lift. I've actually done it on a 6-pack where I've got 5 other people on there, and we're just talking about opening day. Hey, where are you from? What are you looking forward to most this year? How much are you going to ski this season? It's a lot of fun. And it gives you, we've only got 2 more towers. We got to wrap this up.
Right.
It gives you a very clear finish line. It makes people be more succinct.
Yep.
There's also probably some of the, I've always heard that teenagers are easiest to talk to in the car because you don't have to they don't have to look at you. So if you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody, they're much more likely to be open with you if they can look straight ahead.
Well, and they have their goggles on.
Yeah, totally. That's very cool.
We've got just a couple of minutes left before we're going to wrap up, which is a bummer. We would have you stay all night. But I want to cycle back a little bit just to BRBTT. So Deschutes River. Thanks.
That was good.
That one was not even intentional, which is terrifying in and of itself. So Deschutes River Valley Time Trial Festival. I remember Scott Benjamin just referring to it. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're going out to Maupin." What's that? He said, "Oh, it's this crazy time trial festival. You do 3 time trials over 2 days. It's awesome. Go do it." Where did the idea for that race come from? And yeah, tell us a little bit about the story of putting that race together. I think it's one of your smaller races. But as far as I can tell, it's a much beloved race. So I'd love to know a little bit more about its origins.
Love that event. It started actually as a 6-month time trial series out of Corvallis, and we called it Built for Speed. Yeah. And I spent a whole lot of time getting prizes. I got aero helmets, I got skin suits, we got wheels, we got carbon time trial handlebars, and it ended up grand prize were time trial frame sets. And I had 2 bikes that year.
Wow.
And you could basically build a bike throughout the whole thing, hence Built for Speed. But it just crushed me at the end because I saw the bike end up on eBay. And I was like, I went to so much trouble to get the sponsorship for this, which is why I now give out totally goofy prizes. And it was kind of demoralizing to see somebody's bike on eBay, and I was like, well, they want it. That's money and whatever, but I wanted that bike to go to somebody who really needed a time trial bike. And we still give away a frame set. We were with Commotion for a couple of years. They did a frame for us. But I moved to Hood River, and we started doing the time trial series out of Apple Valley in Washington. Then we were running it out of the Dalles from Peterson School. And then I just thought, this would be a lot more fun. It's just a time trial weekend. Let's make each time trial 100 miles. And we'll do one on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And then I was like, and you're going to have 5 people enter. How about if this is where I did all my RAAM training, was out in Central Oregon. I loved it because there's no rain. We spend weekends out there and just go ride. And so I put together some of my favorite courses of routes that I had done and came up with all those routes. And gosh, we had a team doing Race Across Oregon that had met the people at Imperial River Company. And so they introduced us. And I mean, Imperial, the first year we did DRVTT in 2006, they had just expanded the hotel and put in a new parking lot. And they actually wanted us to do the event timed with kind of their grand opening. And so that was the first DRVTT. And this would have been year 14. And we had to cancel it because of COVID. But we're going to have DRVTT Light over Labor Day weekend, doing the courses. I'm not going to charge an entry fee. I just want people to come out and ride their bikes. I want to see my friends and just have some fun out. I know this has hit a lot of people hard financially, and that's why it's kind of my gift to my friends in the Northwest is let's get together and enjoy Imperial River Company and ride our bikes. We're going to do the old Double Trouble, which is now the Deschutes Double. It's that course. We're going to do it ride and tie.
Nice. That's awesome.
And yeah, just again, you can be as competitive as you want. I don't know that the results are going to be all that accurate from the RVTT because I'm going to be in the bar as well. But no, I want it to be safe, and those courses, I'm going to handle that just like a regular event, but I don't want to charge people an entry fee. If people want to make a donation for the insurance or whatever, that's great. But again, I know people have been hit really hard financially, and I want this to just be a fun weekend where friends are together and we're out having a ball.
Which one of those courses is your favorite? If you were stuck on a desert island and could only take one with you, which one would you take?
I like stage 1. I think that loop around Maupin, which has now become an Oregon scenic cycling route, I think it's beautiful, and I really like it as a time trial course because it kind of fits it's not just, a flat out and back. It's got some really tight curves. It really tests your cycling abilities.
Awesome.
And it's got headwinds, tailwinds, swirling winds, steep downhills, steep climbs. It's just a really good test of your cycling abilities all around.
Yeah,
I still want to put on my swim event for the triathletes because you guys would always come out and use it for training. So I did start doing a 5K that I just timed. But I want to block off with cones about a 50-yard spot of the Deschutes River and have you guys jump in and swim in place.
Happily. We would love to.
If you out of the cones, you're out. If you swim too hard and you go in front of the cones, you're out. Whoever can stay there. What a spectator sport.
I love this game. This is a great idea. We'll do it tomorrow.
The river's really cold and I don't want anybody to have a heart attack.
Yeah, we have wetsuits.
Yeah, the Deschutes in late April is
chilly.
Yeah, there'd be a real is that person drifting out of the back of the cone zone
or slowly
they
freezing?
Dead.
Right.
Yeah, that'd
be so fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it'd be amazing. Yeah, watching people in discomfort is always fun. Yeah, the last 9 miles of stage 1 where you're slightly uphill and definitely upwind, trying to get back to Maupin on legs that just are this is done. It's just, I definitely, there's a little part of my soul that I've left out on River Road.
And you have an 8-mile hill climb coming up in a few hours.
Right, yeah. Do it all again. George, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it. I can't believe that we haven't had you on yet. This is
awesome.
This is a real joy for me to just see your face again. And I know that we've got people in chat that are really stoked to see you. And wonderful for you to finally get to meet Molly. And I hope we get to see each other in person soon. But it's it's really great to see you like having achieved what you said was the thing that you wanted to do, which is be a ski instructor, be a broadcaster, and sounds like you're living really, really happily in Meadowland. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. You've teared me up a couple of times. It's really awesome seeing you, Chris and Molly. It's just been amazing to meet you, and I really hope to meet you in person.
Yeah, same. You will. I'm going to come to your swim event and I'm going to crush it. I'm going to stay in the river forever. Thank you so much. This is just wonderful. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For those of you out there watching, come join us tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. We're doing a 90-minute, mostly easy Sufferfest ride. And then join Amy VT Sunday morning at 8 for yoga with Amy. And here's to a happier and faster tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.